Hey, listen, fuckhead. Fuck, you can do whatever you want to do. You can put me on mute. You can turn the goddamn channel for all I care. What the fuck are you doing? And you're listening to us now. So obviously you didn't hit the fucking mute switch tonight, asshole.
Welcome to the Royal Grumble. I am Graham. I've got Daryl here with me.
Hello.
And I've got Dan.
All right.
Facebook.com/Royal Grumble. We've actually got a Twitter, despite Daryl's greatest objections. It is twitter.com/Royal Grumble Pod, not twitter.com/Royal Grumble, for reasons you might find out yourself. We've got an email. If you want to send us an email, it's royalgrumblepod@gmail.com. We're not a review show. We're not a news show. So let's talk about some news.
Wait, do you know when you were saying about Twitter?
Yes.
I think we should. I know we're not going to do features, but we should have a feature for this week, which is Twitter account of the week.
Oh, okay.
Is Tess still dead? That is a personal favourite of all of ours.
Is Tess still dead?
I don't know.
All right. Do you want to check Twitter?
Yeah,
Just have a look.
Can we check Twitter?
I checked earlier. He hasn't posted in a while.
Oh.
Not since the last time when he had that 1 day break and everyone went mental. He sent the tweet afterwards saying, "Still yes, thank you," and then there's been nothing since.
Oh no!
So maybe he's alive.
Maybe what? How are we going to know if Tess is still dead?
It was Easter recently, so maybe he resurrected.
Well, tell you what. Let's check. Let's check anyway, just to be sure.
I will check.
Okay.
This is really great radio.
This is quality radio. Are you kidding? Right. So load it up.
I don't give a fuck.
He's on Twitter.
I'm not here to make
So,
radio.
yeah,
I'm here to entertain myself.
I'll just remind you all. Twitter.com/Royal Grumble Pod. There are no tweets on there yet, but probably by this time there might be.
No, not yet.
We're just going to load up.
13 for the 3rd. Yes, thanks everyone.
I'm still dead. Right, okay. Well, at least we can confirm this is a Royal Grumble exclusive. As of the 13th of March, Tess was still dead.
Oh dear.
The reason I mentioned about news is that we had to talk. Well, we don't have to talk, but we want to talk about Balls Mahoney died.
Talking of dead wrestlers.
We have no plans to set up Is Balls Mahoney Still Dead on Twitter, unfortunately.
Although, I've been listening to a lot of Balls Mahoney shoot interviews today.
Have you really?
Yeah. And he's a Satanist, so maybe he will resurrect himself from the dead and come back and murder us all.
As Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Jesus. I can't... It's a funny thing with him and Axel Rotten. They were both so much younger than I thought they were. Like, terrible ages to die anyway. Obviously, they've done a lot to their bodies over their life, but I can't believe how young they were. Like, I think Balls was, what, 44?
44, yeah.
Something along those lines, yeah. Unbelievable. Axel was probably on the, like, was he somewhere in his 40s?
He was around the same age.
Yeah.
It seems to have been a thing about, especially like that group of guys from ECW, there was a lot of drug use and all the headshots.
And to be fair, he were a Geordie, weren't he? So Newcastle Brown Ale. Them bad breed.
Definitely a legit Geordie.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Something about Balls Mahoney. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Meltzer was talking about Balls Mahoney. He was saying that basically it's him, obviously, Axel Rotten, that we talked about. Mike Awesome, he obviously killed himself. And then Masato Tanaka, who apparently, like, seems to be pretty much fine.
Yeah,
like,
Tanaka's
comparatively to what he actually did to himself. Seems to be all right, which is almost like, and still wrestling, I think.
Yeah, he does occasionally have matches, yeah.
Still having good matches from what... I mean, I don't really follow the sort of Japanese scene in that sense, but, like, apparently still wrestling and having good matches, so he seems to have been the one that sort of, like, got away with it, basically. If you see, he was always the guy who took really hard chair shots, much like these guys. But
Tanaka as well always took the awesome bomb, like, out of the ring, through the table. He did that a few times.
They did a one-night stand, didn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Lance Storm makes some interesting comments about...
I'm glad you brought this up, Graham.
Balls Mahoney.
Right.
Go ahead, Daryl.
Yeah, so Lance Storm, the internet's most miserable man, has done a fitting tribute to Balls Mahoney, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Graham's read this, but Dan hasn't, so you're going to get his natural reaction to this. So all this is the words of Lance Storm.
Okay.
It is with both sadness and frustration that I share with you the news of yet another wrestling death. Balls Mahoney, who I worked with in both ECW and SMW, died today at the age of 44. I would not describe Balls as a friend, although I have no doubt that is how he would have described me to you. I am not trying to speak ill of him, I am just being honest about our relationship. Balls was a very loud, overly friendly guy who likely thought of and certainly acted like everyone was his best friend. Every time I saw him, he'd get so loud and excited and run up to me asking a million questions about what I'd been up to, while simultaneously telling me everything going on in his life. I am not that open and outgoing, and I've never been described as loud or excitable, which is why I never felt that comfortable around balls. More often than not, sorry, listen, I really tried to do that without laughing, but when he says I've never felt that comfortable around balls, I know where he's coming from. More often than not at shows, I would try to avoid him. That does not, however, lessen my sadness. Perhaps in some ways it increases it. And then he just goes on, and then it, yeah. So that's R.I.P. my brothers, because he talks about Axel Rotten as well. But who cares about that? Yeah. So how do you feel about Lance Storm's fitting tribute to Balls Mahoney, where he basically goes, "Oh, he thought he was my friend, but I fucking hated him."
I mean, I suppose it's a Lance Storm way of being nice, where he's saying like, "Oh yeah, he was this big friendly guy and stuff." I found it weird, but yeah, because the thing I was going to bring up, well, I'll bring it up in a little bit actually. If you got anything else to add to that,
Do not justify the way that Lance Storm speaks about
No.
anything. I mean, God, it's just Who? My thought about that is, did he read that back and go, "Yeah, that's what I want to put"?
Well, in fact, he thought that. He wrote that. He read it back and thought, "That's tweetable.
Yeah,
we'll send that out."
remarkable. Like,
R.I.P. Balls.
I think it's pretty straightforward that unless it's inherently connected to somebody's death, if after someone's died, you don't say those sort of things. Like,
yeah,
you've got to have some diplomacy. I mean, like, there's been a lot of sort of wrestler deaths lately. There's a lot that could be talked about, but I hate to go back to the old sort of phrase, but if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Even if you did work with him in SMW and ECW, whatever. Because if you're not keen on him, just say, Balls Mahoney's died. Sad, because he then goes on to say, obviously, he's sad to see another one of his brothers die or whatever else like that, which is fair, Just say, sorry to see it happen. R.I.P. You don't need the rest of it. Just leave it there. You're literally not being forced to type these things.
No, but he obviously feels like his opinion's important.
It's almost like he went, well, I know he is dead, but it's important for me to clear this up now in case people think we were mates, because I don't want to be associated with him. What? Don't.
What a knob.
Yeah.
Before we go into more, just going on about Lance Storm, I want to bring up about what guy that you guys are aware of, Dan White. He used to be one of the guys who ran 1PW. He posted
one of the thousands.
Yeah, he posted a little thing about Balls Mahoney.
Listeners, I do not owe you money. Let's clear this up now.
This is becoming a regular feature. Does Daryl owe anyone money? No.
But anyway,
not financially responsible, so don't sue.
So Dan White posted a little tribute, and it kind of shows the character of Balls Mahoney and the issues that Balls Mahoney had, as well as the actual guy behind it. Talking about the Extreme shows, when 1PW put on some shows as tribute to ECW, they brought over a lot of guys. Balls Mahoney was supposed to be one of them. To paraphrase what he actually said, it was something to do with Balls Mahoney asked for his deposit for half his pay early, and then didn't show up to the shows. But then he did actually, unlike a lot of other guys at 1PW, never bothered showing up. He actually rang Dan White and had a long conversation with him and explained why he hadn't shown up and everything. And Dan White posted that's the type of guy he was. He seemed like a really good guy. Another one was.
Did they get the money back? I'm not being funny, but
I'm not 100% sure.
Right, well, I mean, Dan White couldn't really sort of take a lot of superiority on that anyway, but
it seems to be a lot of the things where, like, Balls Mahoney was quite aware of his demons, and they eventually got the better of him, sadly. And I guess all the chair shots and the drug use in ECW can't have helped.
Yeah, and I've watched a shoot today with him versus New Jack, and that's fucking mental.
Oh, that's the one where don't they have like a huge argument in the middle of it or something?
So they Balls Mahoney only agreed to do it if New Jack got searched before he went in. So I don't know how much of a shoot or a work it is, but he gets searched and they take his knives and stuff off of him. He's got this like lanyard hanging around his neck, and it's got like his car keys on it or something. And I'm thinking, well, that could be a weapon, but he's obviously gone, well, they're my fucking car keys, so you're not taking them off me. But there's also something else hanging from it. He's only got fucking pepper spray hanging from it. And then he stands up and goes, "I will blind you, motherfucker! I will blind you!" And then Balls Mahoney.
He says what, sorry?
I will blind. Right, and then Balls Mahoney He's stood there just going, all right, do it. Do it then. Because I don't think he really cared for his life at that point.
Jesus, that's upsetting.
Yeah.
Bob
Yeah.
Mahoney's got a kid, hasn't he? Like
Yeah, but he also had no teeth. Due to heroin or methadone or something.
It's the methadone that does that.
Yeah.
I
Is
do
it?
remember. Yeah, I do remember.
Then he showed his track marks on his arm as
Oh,
well
dear.
from his heroin abuse or whatever. That's what New Jack were mad at him about for taking drugs. I'm like, but New Jack, you're a killer. You've got 7 justifiable homicides, New Jack. You can't really set them all high ground there.
Oh god.
He beat up an old man for stiffing him.
Oh my god.
I fucking love New Jack.
Jesus. New Jack News of the Week. The News Jack. No, definitely not that.
That's a new feature.
News Jack.
Weekly
there.
feature, yeah.
As long as you're coming up with it, by all means.
Yeah.
After I've explicitly said we're not a news show, we could be a New Jack news show.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're catering to that part of the internet. New Jack News. Brought to you, well, not 24/7, but 24/7 if you just play it when you like.
Yeah.
Like, we don't mind. I guess, well, I mean, what we said last time when we talked about NXT, didn't we? Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about that's happened sort of this week before? Because I know we're sort of trying to steer away from that type of thing.
Yeah.
Raw was pretty good. Go on.
Bullet Club.
Yeah, that was pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
I was quite pleased with the sort of reaction they got, considering they're essentially just like 2 bald guys with beards
Yeah.
that could have theoretically looked like anybody.
That was my only issue with it. They just had jeans and t-shirt on.
Yeah. What else could they wear? Then?
Balaclavas.
Hooded guys. We need more, men in balaclavas.
Yeah.
But
To get more context on this, go have a look at What Culture.
don't go have a look at What Culture. I'll tell you now. Literally don't go.
We
go
could do a collaboration.
We could. Oh yeah, Adam, if you're out there, right, which you are, you definitely listen to us. Give us a call or send us an email. royalgrumblepod@gmail.com. Yeah. But for those of you who are considering watching What Culture, I'll save you the trouble. Literally every single one of his how I would have booked this and that and the other pretty much includes like men in balaclavas coming and attacking people.
He's also done a YouTube channel that's just What Culture, and he does movies, and he's done one about how we done the Dark Knight Rises, and I shit you not, there's men in balaclavas.
Are you on the wind up? Why? First of all, who's rebooking movies? Like I can almost sense like some of these sort of like YouTube channels where they're like, what would you do if you were making the next Batman movie or something like that? That makes sense because that's like an original idea. Who's rebooking a movie?
Adam.
Clearly, Adam
From What Culture.
Adam from whatculture.com. That's his name.
Yeah.
Adam from What Culture.
So yeah, Bullet Club. I quite liked what they did. They kicked fuck out of Usos.
Yeah. Oh, pretty good that, to be fair. Like I say, they got quite a good reaction, despite being bearded. Although my frustration with it at the moment, and it's not a big problem, it's just something that happens every single time these people who are like well known amongst the sort of indie scene are debuting. It's like, oh, they're the free agents from the free agency that are gonna be the hottest free agent tag team in the world, and it's AJ Styles. He's the hottest free agent in pro wrestling, just like the last hottest free agent in pro wrestling before it. It's like, I don't. At least sort of, I think it was JBL. Somebody expanded on it this week and said, "Oh, they've been like tearing up Japanese tag team divisions." So at least they put a little bit of context on it rather than just, "Oh, he's a free agent. He was free. He's just so free and agenty, and he's bloody."
But what do you want him to
come
say?
to wrestling? Well, you don't have to say anything. If you're saying that's Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, okay, it's fine. That's who they are. We know who Luke Gallows is. He was in WWE anyway.
Yeah,
They
but
probably don't want you to remember that.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want you to remember Luke Gallows, do they?
Yeah, but they don't have to bring that up. They just say that's who it is. Okay, that's who it is. Next. You don't have to explicitly state that they're all free agents, because clearly they're not, because they're in your ring.
Yeah, but they were free agents, weren't they?
Well, they were, but they're clearly not now.
Yeah, so they were the hottest free agents when they signed.
But what about when AJ Styles?
But yeah, but he was the hottest then.
Oh, at that time.
But now he's not a free agent.
Oh, right, okay. So hang on, how were AJ Styles and Austin Aries concurrently the hottest free agents in professional wrestling, considering one debuted on the Sunday and one debuted on the Wednesday?
Because obviously one debuted on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And then Austin Aries became the hottest free agent on the Wednesday.
But what if it was the other way around? What if Austin Aries had, were they concurrently the hottest free agents?
No, because you couldn't do that. One would be number 1, one would be number 2.
Oh, right,
and then
okay.
as soon as AJ Styles signed...
Is there a list? Because I think I could do with a website.
Yeah, well, there is a laminated list, mate, but you can't have it because you'll just rip it to pieces like you do with Dolph Ziggler in your laminated list. So...
So you to bring his name up.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cracking. One thing I wanted to say, which was something I thought this was related to NXT, but I think looking back on it, I actually forgot. They did an interview with Zack Ryder. Was it on Raw? Or I can't remember.
I'll be honest. I fast forward through.
Well, I can't remember if it was on the Raw after Mania or if it was actually on Mania after like a little while. And Zack Ryder said that winning the title at WrestleMania was the happiest day of his life, which he's on WWE's show, so he absolutely should be saying that because that's the most prestigious title he's won. You know, he's as a human being, he doesn't have any sort of kids or anything else like that, so it makes sense. Dave Meltzer ripped him to bits about it. Said, "Oh, I don't understand why the best moment of anybody's life would be about wrestling. I mean, the best moment of my life was when my kids were born, and I don't even understand. He's only winning a fake title." And Alvarez was sort of like, "Well, you know, he doesn't have any kids, and he is trying to play the character." I mean, none of it.
I do think he's full of shit though, because I don't think that is his best moment of his life, right? Because you guys know me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a massive wrestling figure collector, right?
Yeah.
So is Zack Ryder. I honestly think his favourite moment of his life is getting a fucking wrestling figure of himself.
Yeah.
I would honestly prefer that to winning the Intercontinental belt. So I think that's what
You're
is.
probably right, actually. I bet if somebody sort of brought that up with him, he might actually realise.
Yeah, I bet he prefers that more.
Because that's literally like you can be a statistic on a sheet, and you can be a guy on a TV show, and that's all a fantastic achievement. But like, if you physically have a copy of yourself made in plastic by Mattel,
yeah,
that's something else entirely, isn't it?
That someone can go and buy.
Yeah. I mean, they don't. I've seen.
I did. I bought one that had his internet title with it. They actually made that.
Oh my god, he wasn't allowed to bring it on telly, but they got it in his figure.
Yeah, of course they did.
He'd have been. Can you imagine being Mattel and Zack Ryder is having a figure? He'd have been phoning them up every day.
Yeah.
I've got a new idea for my figure. Yeah, we know Zack. Yeah, we would. Oh, well, this one can come with no, Zack. We're not making any more figures of
What's
you.
quite funny is they made him ginger. I don't even know why.
Probably just because he was phoning up every day and saying, "I've got a new idea for my figure." Yeah, we know Zack. You called us 20 minutes ago. Going back to what I sort of brought up at the end of last week, we obviously intended to discuss the NXT takeover and didn't get around to it. I thought that might be a good catapult for our topic this week, rather than specifically discussing this week's or the most recent takeover, because obviously we're a couple of weeks removed from that now. We could actually go on to talk about NXT as a whole, in terms of we've not only had the most recent sort of most successful takeover, we can discuss different sort of qualities of takeover, and also we've had, I think I counted 7, I don't know if anyone can count any more, 7 call-ups.
I've got 7 on
recently
my list,
from NXT, which gives us a lot to talk about in terms of who's succeeding, who's not succeeding, who do we think is going to do well, and is it working? Because I think there's an argument to be made that for some people it works better, for some people it doesn't. So I'll jump straight in there. If you look at, obviously, Gallows and Anderson debuted on Raw, and they made a pretty big impact straight away.
Yeah.
Having never been in NXT, did they have a more memorable debut than Sami Zayn, who debuted on Raw, sort of apropos of nothing? They played his music and that was all of a sudden, yeah, now he's part of the roster.
Yeah.
So who?
Well, it's like, because with Sami Zayn, it was when Cena were doing his open challenge, weren't it? So it were all every week were meant to be a surprise. I mean, I know some weeks you got Stardust, but it was always a mystery, weren't it?
Yeah.
So like with him, I think it was kind of a big reaction, but not.
Well,
but not at the same time, because like I don't know, because he came up, had his match, and then he got injured, so there weren't really much follow up on it. Was
well, this is what I was kind of thinking more in terms of, like, I know it sounds a daft thing, but obviously that was the first time he had a proper match on Raw. Apart from he had a tag match with Adrian Neville before they had the match for the.
It was the Fatal 4-Way, wasn't it?
It might have. Yes, it was. Yeah, before the Fatal 4-Way takeover show. But what I meant was, whether you consider that to be his debut on Raw or not, I would probably consider his proper debut on Raw to be a few weeks before WrestleMania, when he came out and attacked Kevin Owens. which was good. Like, and he got a good reaction. I think it's hard to not get a good reaction with his theme music because I think it's so uplifting and it really suits his character. But then from there, he looked like he was starting to become a bit of the 50-50 club member until this week when he had that match with AJ Styles, which I don't know if you've seen it, Daryl, or if
I've seen highlights of it because what I decided to do this week was watch Raw how Mocko watches Raw, which is just watch it on YouTube.
Watch the YouTube highlights on Tuesday
I'll tell you what, I'm never doing that again, because at no point on the YouTube titles of the videos does it say Bullet Club debuts, right? So do you think I actually clicked on the Usos match? Did I fuck? and then went on like internet or whatever websites I were going on. It was like Bullet Club debuts. I was like, no, they fucking didn't. then I saw where they debuted. I was like, oh, it'll be on that video then that just says Usos versus whoever they wrestled.
Yeah. I guess in one sense you could be pleased that they don't spoil it, but in another sense that in a way that's your fault really for not watching the Usos match.
But I thought he had a good idea.
If you're clipping it down, mate, watch it all.
No, I don't want to watch it all though, do I?
Yeah, but literally you can't be bothered to watch the 2-minute highlights.
Yeah.
Of it all.
Yeah, that's my issue.
I don't think wrestling's for you, mate.
I like some wrestling, but
Alright.
just not. I don't know, like some wrestling I can avoid.
Okay, well,
And
anyway.
I regret that, but yeah. Anyway, so I've seen the
Highlights of
YouTube highlights of AJ Styles and.
Well, I watched AJ Styles and Sami Zayn all the way through, and it's interesting. It's so different to what WWE usually do on Monday night in terms of the match is built very much like an indie match, like to the point where they literally have an indie standoff at one point. And I watched the first sort of 5 or 10 minutes thinking it's a very different reaction you get from a WWE crowd to what you get from an indie crowd, because when they do the sort of standoff, there's a few people, like a smattering of applause, whatever, but not many people sort of getting into it in the same way that you get into like a match in a much smaller venue. However,
Could you argue that it's because they're conditioned, when you go to WWE show, you're conditioned to sort of expect a certain thing that you wouldn't expect?
Oh, I think absolutely. And I do wonder whether when sort of the people backstage were watching the match, whether they were thinking, this is guff, they're doing it absolutely wrong, or whether they were actually getting involved in it in the same way that the crowd does. Because actually, Sami Zayn's facials and his babyface fire and all these things work so well to create a really good match. Like, if you can actually watch the whole match, I would genuinely recommend that you do it. There's 2 really good matches on Raw. There's Cesaro and Kevin Owens was really good, and AJ Styles and Sami Zayn was, I felt, so different to what WWE usually do, but it strikes me as the sort of match that might be more likely to keep people watching. I'd be interested to see what the breakdowns are in terms of ratings and such. Overall, I thought this week's Raw was really good, by the way, just if you do get the chance to watch it. But that's the first time since he's come up from NXT, to bring it back sort of on topic, that I felt like Sami Zayn was really relevant. He's had this sort of feud with Kevin Owens that's been brought over from NXT and has been bubbling underneath, maybe not getting the reaction that they were wanting. I feel like now where they go from here is very important, because straight after the match they had a backstage segment with AJ and Shane McMahon. AJ and Sami had a sort of a shake, like a handshake type thing, and Shane came in and said, that was a really great match, but it was different to sort of like Dolph Ziggler's "that was a really great match," where you get the feeling that it was a really great match, but he's not asked about the fact that he got paggered. More to the point that Sami was actually disappointed to lose and AJ was actually thrilled to win. So,
having not seen that, obviously I can't really comment much, but is that your Dolph Ziggler bias coming out that you, or because I mean I don't like Dolph Ziggler either, but like because you're telling me that story and I know you hate Dolph Ziggler, so like who said that was a great match?
Shane McMahon did.
Oh, okay, right. So it wasn't Sami Zayn going, that was a great match.
No, I mean
right.
I think they had some kind of dialogue in that sort of respect, but it was it's a different tone to it in the sense that you felt like they both acknowledged that it was a really good match, but Sami was genuinely disappointed. You could see that he was sort of genuinely disappointed that he'd lost. Whereas I feel like if they interviewed Dolph Ziggler and said, "Oh, how do you think about your match?" He's like, "Oh well, I had to steal the show, and even though I lost, I had a great match." And I'd be like, "Well, you don't care whether you lost or won, though, do you?" And Dolph Ziggler bias aside, it's a crucial difference, and it's why I think if people are willing to look past his sort of difference in look, Sami Zayn has a much higher ceiling in WWE than, say, another NXT act like the Vaudevillains.
Yeah, but do you think Sami Zayn's savable now? Like, because you said he was starting to be 50-50, but
I do.
do you think he can? He could be elevated to main event. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, I think it's possible. I mean, it's interesting how, whilst the complaints are made that obviously people win and lose matches too often and they ending in that 50-50 booking, and I wouldn't be remotely surprised if come Raw next week they're like, hey, we had such a great match, why don't we have another match? And then like Sammy wins.
Well, I hope not, because I want to start doing bloody AJ Styles Roman Reigns like it's meant to be.
Yeah, well, I agree, but it's interesting how in losing a match, the reaction to losing a match can have a lot more impact when you believe that the guy who's lost actually cares about it. And it's something different to the 50-50 club. So even though someone might take a look and go, well, he's not won as many matches as this person, you can get over in losing a match if the audience believes that you care.
Well, that's how Sammy did it in NXT. That how he booked the entire time. He came in and beat Cesaro early, but then in that feud, he ended up losing at the end. And then the whole build-up for the title was he always lost it at the big things. He finally wins the belt. It's his big moment, has it taken away from him straight away. Loses 2 straight matches to Kevin Owens. And then it's, even on his big like farewell matches, is like he did the series of matches against Samoa Joe and couldn't beat him. And then he has the match against Nakamura, which is his farewell match by the looks of it in NXT. Loses that, which that was for a different reason altogether. It was to establish Nakamura as well and to give Sammy a really good match to finish on. But the whole idea with Sami Zayn is that he is the underdog and he never quite gets to that part, that the place where the fans want him to be. And he's going to keep pushing. And eventually he'll hopefully have that massive moment where he'll beat the Kevin Owens and he'll progress upwards.
Yeah, so he's got to win. Like you can't lose your way to the top. So he's got to win.
Yeah, he won matches on the way, obviously, to get his title shots and everything. But how long was Neville champion? Was it February through to December? And Sami Zayn challenged him a few times for that title and never managed to beat him. And it was just that thing where the title was the golden goose at the end that he couldn't quite reach. Eventually does it, and then Kevin Owens comes along, takes it away from him, beats him for the belt, beats him again, just decimates him. He gets injured, so that kind of that kind of stops the motion going forward. He comes back and then he does the whole series with Samoa Joe and he can't beat him either. So it's a thing they've continually done with Sami Zayn, but it doesn't seem to affect his popularity at all, at least with the NXT fans. It'll be interesting to see how it translates to WWE fans if they continue to book him that way.
I want to come back to Sami Zayn a little bit later on because I think there's a wider question to be asked, which I'll get to. I'd be interested to know, so now that we started with one of the 7...
Wait, hang on. That was one of the 7?
Yeah?
So I had 7 that weren't Sami Zayn.
Right, okay.
Right. So Baron Corbin.
Yes.
Right, so that's 1. Apollo Crews.
Yes.
Both the Vaudevillains.
Yep.
Enzo and Big Cass.
Yep.
So you don't know who the 7th one is?
No, who's the 7th one?
Oh well, let's have a little think about it
guessing game.
this,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Oh,
this is
fine.
pretty fun.
Is it fun?
Yeah.
Very fun for the people at home who
Yeah.
probably just go, well, it's obviously this person. I literally can't think. You're going to give me some
Tyler
clues?
Breeze?
No.
No, I wouldn't count him.
No.
He's ages ago.
I'm talking like recent. I didn't even
Okay.
count Sami Zayn, so it's this person's more recent.
You
than
said, are
Sami
you trying to
Zayn.
say Zack Ryder?
No, I'm not even counting that right. No, I'm counting a legit person that's come up from
Legit person
NXT.
that's come up from NXT. I actually...
You'll notice that I've said person because it's not a man.
Well, I did think it
Emma.
might be...
Emma.
Oh,
Yeah,
Emma. That doesn't count. She
Yeah,
was up
of
there
course it
before.
counts.
Doesn't count.
Of course it counts.
Doesn't count.
Of course it
Doesn't count.
counts.
I'd say it was because she was off TV for a little
She was
while
off before,
and
though.
For
it was
ages. She was
and
off
a
TV.
completely different gimmick.
It's,
Yeah.
it's not a completely different gimmick. It bloody starts with the same... She's just a heel.
Yeah, but she doesn't do
This is
starts
what
with the
this is
same
what
thing.
happens when Graham realizes he's wrong.
I'm not wrong, though, Emma. So...
She like just
re-debut.
she does the whole. look
So
at
you
my
should have
arse
counted
thing.
Eva Marie as well, then. So 8.
Oh, there's 8 then.
That's a middle
We
finger
bo-
for you.
We
There you
both we both.
Well, we're
missed
both
Eva
wrong.
Marie.
So as long as we're both wrong, that's fine. That's satisfied me. As long as you're not right, that's essentially my victory is won. Well, I hadn't really counted Eva Marie and Emma because they haven't. Have they been on TV since?
Yeah,
Like, they were in
I
the, they were in
watched
the ring.
SmackDown this week.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh my
I
god!
say I watched SmackDown.
So you didn't watch Raw, but you watched SmackDown.
Yeah, because I were eating breakfast, weren't I? And I was like, oh, I'll put something on. And I'd not seen SmackDown, any of SmackDown, so I watched about an hour of SmackDown.
To be perfectly fair,
She was on that.
having said that, SmackDown's actually been quite good lately. I just haven't had time to watch it. Right, okay, well, we'll count all 8 of them then. So,
do we want to just go through them all one by one and say how much we hate them?
pretty much. I've obviously brought up Sami Zayn. I'm going to come back to Sami Zayn in a little while because it'll be related to something else. I'm going to go straight in there with Vaudevillains. What do you think?
I'm a fan of the team, but they seem to have peaked at Brooklyn, and after that it was like, well, as tag champions now, what can they do with them? And there's a whole problem with their villains, and even when they try and turn them back heel, the fans still cheer them because they like that it's a kooky gimmick, and also the fact that it's got quite a low ceiling on the whole gimmick. It's never going to be like a huge deal.
Yeah, they're a bit shit, aren't they? They might be good wrestlers, but like they're not gonna win belts, are they? They're not. I don't know. Like
I think there's every chance they could win the tag titles, but
I don't think so. Because
probably not.
Bullet Club have debuted, the hottest free agents. You've got Dudley Boys who are better than them. You've got both Usos that are better than them. You've got them bloody ones that were Matadors now. What they them?
Yeah, they're
Diego and other one.
yeah.
They're now Pride of Puerto Rico or whatever.
It's Epico and Primo is their sort of like that's their colon names if you like.
Yeah. But,
colon is their surname.
But
colon means ass. What?
Yeah, you're not really subtle with that. So like all them teams are probably better than Vaudevillains. And Vaudevillains have got the thing where they've got villain in the name, like Dan was saying. So like when you turn them face, you're still calling them villains. And they think they're from like 50s or whatever they think they're from. 40s, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're from past, aren't they?
I mean, I agree. I don't see where they're going to go. I think I feel like it's a sort of call up in a similar way to what they did with Tyler Breeze. It's like we've got to the end of what we can use you for in NXT. I guess we should call you up. Except with Tyler Breeze, I think he actually had a lot more potential than these two do. It's not that they're not good wrestlers; they're perfectly good. But if you consider that they'd hit their very low ceiling in NXT, which is already a sort of controlled environment, I don't see where it goes. I think it goes the same way the Ascension, to be honest. They'll be essentially like the face version of the Ascension, I would expect. I didn't know. Did you see their debut on SmackDown?
Vaudevillains, no.
Okay. I know they went against the Ascension.
Right, so
this is your future, lads.
Brilliant.
The weird thing is, the Ascension had a lot more upward potential, I felt.
Yeah.
Well, they had that guy that was on when NXT used to be good. They had that guy that called Connor.
Daryl, just clarify for us when NXT used to be good, because people aren't going to know this.
Right.
People are going to think you meant like, when Sammy. No,
it was when Derek Bateman
real
were on
NXT.
it. Yeah, real NXT. Derek Bateman were on it. Darren Young were on it. Mr. No Days Off, then he got suspended. Titus O'Neil.
Big deal, Titus O'Neil.
Yeah, big deal, Titus O'Neil. Oh, that woman and Johnny Curtis kidnapped
Oksana.
No, not Oksana.
No.
I can't remember her name, but it was some woman that's never going to work in wrestling again.
Yep.
Oh no, she does. She works on Lucha Underground, but I don't know what she's called.
Evilise.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I know she was tough enough, wasn't she? Anyway, go on.
They kidnapped Matt Stryker, just because, and then he when whoever found him, if Derek Bateman found him, they made a joke that he'd shot himself, which is hilarious. But yeah, so that's when NXT used to be good. I can't remember what point I was making. I got excited because I like NXT.
You were talking about God, I can't remember. Someone with Ratitude.
Yeah. So Connor was Mr. Ratitude. He said, "I've got a face like a rat. I've got ratitude," right? And I will never forget that. And I bring that up every time he's on TV and every time I see him.
Yep.
So it we're fighting a losing battle with me.
So I know what you mean about their upward ceiling. In terms of the gimmick, I think it was possible, but like they're just not very good, are they? Let's be honest. Also,
I do remember when they debuted, they messed up their finish.
Even better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Isn't their finish a high-low and they both went high?
Yeah. They like do that old Eliminators finish, don't they?
Yeah.
The total elimination.
Yeah, they call it Fallen Man, don't they?
Yeah. And they've got one job, and one of them just needs to say, right, I'm always going to go high.
One of them's literally shorter than the other.
So the tall one goes high, short one goes low. That's how you remember it. Easy to remember, sound piece of advice.
So I think on on a related note to that, I think that essentially the Vaudevillains will be, because I assume if they debuted against the Ascension, they were face. So essentially, they'll be like the face version of the Ascension when someone needs a tag team win.
Kind
beat the Vaudevillains.
Kind of like a jobber tag team.
Yeah, which actually
yeah.
I'm not averse to.
No,
I just think it's a consequence of their gimmick, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's because we don't have jobbers anymore that I just think when people come up, in my head I'm like, well, they're not going to go anywhere, but maybe they don't have to because they're going to be there to do that job, which is lose, which is what Heath Slater does.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
Exactly, and that's the sort of people they should have. People they don't give necessarily a lot of TV time to. But the problem with this sort of 50-50 booking thing is, I know it's a massive cliche to bring it up, is that someone obviously at some point looks at these people and goes, "Oh well, they haven't had a win though, so people won't buy it." It's like, but that's not the point. That's not what they're there for.
No.
People like on NXT, you've got like Ty Dillinger and all these other guys that are literally just there to put people over, which is fine. There's not a problem with that. So we're thinking the Vaudevillains probably a no one in terms of success.
So I suppose we should move on to Enzo and Big Cass.
Yeah,
that makes more sense, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Yeah, I really like Enzo and Big Cass. I think they're gonna have the New Age Outlaws comparisons because of the big intro and stuff, and they've got a really good dynamic as a tag team. You've got the small guy who takes the heat, and the big guy who comes in and clears house.
Yeah, and also he's the small guy that talks a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And the big guy's there behind him going, well, I'm going to let him talk a lot of shit and you have to come through me to get to him.
And also, I felt on the debut as well, some of the lines he threw out at Devon were brilliant. Like, actually had me, like, laughing watching it.
It's like he'd been thinking about it for his whole fucking life.
Well, if you've listened to them both on the Steve Austin podcast, he talks about the fact that he doesn't read. He writes all the time, and he literally just sits there writing promos continuously. And he's just got all these lines that he can go on whenever he wants, so... putting your lazy eye to work, which is the line that got me.
Don't listen to other podcasts though. Just listen to this one.
Yeah, we don't really endorse other podcasts.
Yeah, but yeah, on the Steve Austin podcast, he said that.
Yeah, he writes. He's writing promos all the time.
They'll definitely listen to us if we say that, won't they? It'll be fine. Yeah, I think they're brilliant. It's funny. I was at SummerSlam and I was also at the Raw after that, and I expected them to debut. So I was during the sort of Divas match. I went to go and get something to eat, and whilst I was out, the New Day's music hit, and I actually ran back to my seat and forced the food that I was carrying for myself and my partner into her hand so that I could get ready to cheer for Enzo and Cass, and it turned out it was the Dudley Boys instead.
Were you disappointed?
I wasn't disappointed because
of
course I had no idea it was going to be them, but I genuinely was prepared for Enzo and Cass.
I thought you were going to say you run back to your seat when you heard the New Day's music because you're a massive fan of Darren Young and Titus O'Neil.
Well, I am a massive fan of Darren Young and Titus O'Neil. Not as massive as you are, because you literally phoned me to tell me that they'd got back together. This is a real thing. In fact, I wonder if I can play the voicemail. If there's some way we can get the voicemail into this, I'll put it on at the end. If not, I'll play it through the microphone.
There should be a way. Yeah.
We'll figure it out somehow, because I want everyone to hear Darryl's voicemail when he phoned me to tell me that the Primetime Players were back together. So we think to bring this back up. Enzo and Cass, my only concern with them, and it's not to do with them, it's to do with the way that they'll get booked, is
it the fact that Big Cass is called Big Cass?
Yeah.
And he's big?
Yeah. So
7
eventually,
foot tall,
Vince is going to take a look at this guy's 7 foot tall. Put him on the main event. But in a Vince voice.
Yeah.
And
that were alright, though.
I thought it was not too bad, yeah. But I have to, preface it by, if it's bad, then at least I've sort of apologised for it.
Yeah, you meant it.
Yeah.
It's meant to be bad.
That's a concern you have with any tag team, isn't it? That Vince doesn't see as much in tag teams as anyone else does, really.
Yeah, but I don't know, because they seem to have done a bit more with tag teams recently.
Yeah, I would say the division's a lot better than it has been.
Yeah, but I can see him splitting them up and giving Big Cass or trying to give him a run, but at the same time,
like Shad Gaspard and JTG.
No, I weren't gonna go. I was gonna go with Shield and say they split Shield up, and then obviously Roman Reigns is their guy, and then it's not exactly worked out. And it's like, I'm not saying they see him like Roman Reigns, but if they're gonna split him up, are they gonna do it right, kind of thing?
Yeah, but we think they'll do all right, don't we?
Oh yeah, as a tag team, definitely.
As a general consensus.
Yeah. They should do really well, and the whole intro and everything. Same with New Day. They've got that whole gimmick there with the intro. It gets people over really easy.
Yeah.
So if they've got a thing they can...
I'm really liking New Day at the minute.
Yeah, the whole thing with how Big E introduces them. Big Cass and Enzo have got that where it's the same things they say before every match, and the crowd will happily chant all along with that. and it'll get them over, and they'll sell a ton of t-shirts like they were already doing in NXT. I mean, we were all at the Sheffield NXT show last year, and Enzo and Big Cass got a ridiculous reaction.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest reactions at night, and it's like that wherever they go. Like they're going to be one of those tag teams that kind of like they'll get compared to New Age Outlaws. They'll be that tag team.
It's interesting to think that they never won the NXT tag team titles,
Yeah,
and yet the Vaudevillains did.
Yeah,
And
but,
where's their ceiling going?
but like they probably didn't have to win it, did they?
No, absolutely, I
yeah,
agree.
that
Like,
was the thing I always.
I
found
thought when you were in New York they were going to win it then.
Yeah, me too. But
Yeah.
they didn't even have a match.
No, which is what made me think, and probably you as well, that they were going to be on Raw.
Yes.
Because they didn't have that match. So it's like, well, fucking hell, they've not been on there because they're saving it for Raw.
Yeah.
And they didn't. But yeah, so like they probably don't need to win the belts.
No.
Maybe on the main show they do, I reckon. Maybe in WWE they probably have to win them. But
I
on
can see
NXT,
them
they
being the
didn't
ones
have
to take them off the New Day.
Do you think?
Well, maybe
it-
not directly, but
Yeah,
I suppose.
I think they'll go to somebody else before Enzo and Big Cass because it's like.
League of Nations.
I thought they might be splitting the League of Nations up.
What, slowly?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, like.
What's the point? Because they're not going to be any better on their own.
No.
Rusev might be, to be
Yes,
fair.
Rusev is main event.
I know you're a massive Rusev fan. I'm probably not
Love
as
him.
much a Rusev fan as you are, but I do think that he's of the three of them, he's the most likely to succeed on his own. Still,
He is.
His money.
Sheamus is the
and-
most disappointing one, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think even though he gets that you look stupid chant, I think he looks like he could beat somebody up.
Yeah.
But he's just a bit wank, isn't he? He just is.
That's
Like,
about right.
it's like he looks like when he does his little pose at top at ramp and shouts fella, I'm a bit annoyed he shouts fella for no reason, but he looks a bit hard and then he walks down and he's not.
Now, on a very that's an interesting segue into Baron Corbin.
Oh god.
I feel like it's appropriate.
Yeah.
He's just a stall, probably.
I mean, the whole thing with Baron Corbin is they were trying to do the silent killer gimmick with him. It worked for a little while when the fans could count along with his matches, which was a nice little gimmick. But then it kind of died down, and it was through Breaking Ground, I think, where they kind of realised his real life personality is the guy's a prick. Like, he's one of those just unapologetic pricks that you.
Can you give us an example? I've never seen Breaking Ground.
Well, it's just how his general demeanour where he's like, he's just got that attitude like, I'm better than everyone, and I don't understand why I'm not on the main roster, and he'll just very openly talk about how he could destroy everybody. And he does the thing with Nia Jax, where Nia Jax is really nervous about her first match, and then Baron Corbin just goes, I had a terrible first match, and then starts just making her feel worse, and he's just one of those people.
Maybe he's trying to reassure her.
Yeah. I don't know, he was saying, I'm sure you'll fail and stuff like that.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
he was
maybe not then.
he was being a dick. He's one of those people, and then after Breaking Ground, you start to see on the NXT roster, he started bringing his actual personality out rather than just doing the silent stare at the camera. He'd say stuff. It kind of started with the Apollo Crews thing where he dumped him out of the ring and then shouted, "Go back to Ring of Honor," which was a really funny thing to shout at
To be
Apollo
fair,
Crews,
that's quite a good line.
former Dragon Gate USA guy. But yeah, Baron Corbin started using his actual personality, and it kind of coincided with him finally being brought to the main roster. And if he can get some of that part out of him, where he's not just giving like, "Oh, it'll be the end of days when I face you," instead of doing that stuff, his actual personality comes out. They could do interesting stuff with him. But it'd be interesting for any of these guys as well. The difference from NXT, where they're given a lot more freedom to being on the main roster, where they don't have that freedom in the ring as much. Everything's micromanaged and overproduced. So it'd be interesting to see with Baron Corbin, especially because you'd started to see him be more free in the ring, and he could do a bit more. And now he's on the main roster, it could knock him down again.
Yeah. After watching SmackDown, he beats up Zack Ryder. I don't know if he wins the match or he just beats him up and gets DQ'd, but he has a match with him, beats him up. Then Dolph Ziggler comes out to make the save. He's going to be stuck in eternal 50-50 feud with Dolph Ziggler, isn't he?
Yeah.
Probably. That's what happened with Tyler Breeze at first as well. It's just Dolph Ziggler's the guy, and we said this on the first episode. Well, I said it, that he's a good workhorse and he's probably a good guy for people to work with at first. But at the same time, you can't have this 50-50 thing with him going on all the time.
But if he's going to bump for him like a mentalist, like he does, then
Yeah,
that's fine.
he does everything he can to
get-
try and make the other guy look good.
Yeah, but
But they've already started off like literally the first thing they did when Baron Corbin debuted on Raw was brought Dolph Ziggler out, and then they had a brawl into the crowd. That's already giving Dolph Ziggler too much. And I say that in terms of Baron Corbin's character. They had him win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which was like presumably a springboard to a push on the main roster. And then you have him go to a draw with Dolph Ziggler. What's that? And to be fair, I would have said the same thing if he was going to a draw with Zack Ryder, if he was going to a draw with The Miz,
Just
even though I
anybody
do
on
think
that-
The Miz is
Yeah,
better.
just anybody on that level, really.
Just
innit?
anyone on that sort of level, exactly.
Another thing, Baron Corbin, that I never understood. He's got like legitimate grappling experience and all his different sport experience. He was a football player.
He's like a
He'd done,
massive athlete.
He'd gone to Abu Dhabi and all this stuff, competing as a grappler.
He won the Golden Gloves.
Yeah, he's got all this background to him, and none of it was ever brought up in NXT. Like the whole thing when he was feuding with Samoa Joe, I thought this would be a great opportunity because they do talk about Samoa Joe doing occasional like MMA training stuff. And then he's against Baron Corbin, who has experience in actual submission
But it's
tournaments.
not his gimmick, though, is it?
Yeah, I understand it's not his gimmick, but
because if you're tall, why are you going to roll around the floor and grapple?
well, it's not necessarily the grappling part, but he's this big tough guy, and they could say he's gone around the world and competed in all these different combat sports and everything. So he is like wherever the fight goes, he can better you at.
Didn't he win a Super Bowl? Like
I don't know.
he
I don't know
definitely
much
played
about his
American
career.
football to a
Yeah.
professional standard. I think I might be wrong. Maybe he didn't win the Super Bowl. I think he might have. He's definitely had he was a very highly rated American football player. Then he moved into boxing, won the Golden Gloves. He's done the grappling things, which I wasn't even aware of. He's like a really successful athlete, and it does surprise me that they don't really bring that up. But when I read that, and when I saw some of it on Breaking Ground, it was like, well, this guy has even more potential than I thought. So no wonder they signed him. No wonder they want him to do well.
I think he played offensive guard, mate.
Did he?
That's
Yeah, I
because
think
I've
so.
just loaded it up on my screen. He was.
What a twat.
Oh,
played-
he's so mad,
I
isn't
know,
he? He's
I
so
know,
mad
I
that
know,
you.
I know, this is just the wonders of podcasts where I can
Yes.
look intelligent.
So mad that you've.
So he played for the Indianapolis Colts and the Arizona Cardinals. He was released by the Cardinals in 2011, and that's when he started box. Oh no, he was boxing.
Did he
before
win a
then,
Super Bowl or
apologise.
not? Essentially,
Not that I can see.
no. Did he win any divisional championships?
No,
or
he
anything?
was an off-season or practice squad member only for both teams.
Oh really? Okay, I
Yeah.
thought he'd. Oh well, obviously I'm wrong. He did better than Brock Lesnar did, though. Yeah. So
Yeah.
well done, Brock. If you're out there, we're calling you out. You weren't as good at football.
I'll tell you now, if there's one wrestler that's not listening to wrestling podcasts, it's Brock Lesnar.
Literally, I bet people talk about him all the time. And even if someone says, you know, this person said something, but I literally do not care.
Yeah.
I could not care less.
There's wood to chop and animals to kill.
Yep.
And Sable to shag.
So I'm going to try and get a bit of a consensus here. So, Dan, Baron Corbin, what do you think? How do you think he'll do?
He's got a lot of upward potential with his size, and he is capable of, when he actually brings his personality into his gimmick, he can be quite good. It's whether that actually happens, and if he gets booked 50-50 and all that stuff, it's going to kind of kill off the whole big man aura about him. So it's really hard to tell right now to see how they go with it. I think he'll win out
So
against Dolph
you're
Ziggler,
too
but-
afraid to make a call. That's
Yeah.
fine. Daryl?
From what I've seen of him, I'm not a fan.
Okay, so you think no.
Yeah, like he's just, I don't know, like he just walks and puts his arms out. I've not
Well,
seen this
to
gimmick.
be fair, that's an improvement over his previous gimmick, which was just walks and then lifts his
Yeah,
head and
I've
looks
not,
into
I've
the camera.
not seen this character that you're on about, Dan. Like, I've not seen that.
It started around December last year, like the London show against Apollo Crews when he first really started bringing all that out.
I don't think he's brought it out enough. Like,
Mm.
or he's not been featured enough. Like, I still see him as like he walks through the spotlights, lifts his head up, holds his arms out, and everyone goes, "Oh, charisma." I'm like, no, I've seen a Nakamura match that had more charisma just in him winking at camera than a whole match that Baron Corbin's ever had.
Well, I think just because of his size and because of his athletic background, he'll do well. But I hope they do give him the chance to show that personality. Because I watch Breaking Ground as well, and I do think that personality would be useful to bring in. But the problem is they do stuff like that so well, and they never bring it into the sort of main shows, if you like. So I think he'll do well, but it could take him a little bit of time to find his feet.
I just think there's a lot of wrestlers both on the roster and in NXT that I like more than him. I have no doubt.
Yeah, I get that.
I have no doubt that his size and his athletic background stands him in good stead to do something.
Yeah.
It's just that I look at other wrestlers like Samoa Joe, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'd much prefer Samoa Joe to be kicking fuck out of Dolph Ziggler.
So would I. I agree with that.
I'd much prefer that. Like, I'd much prefer Finn Balor to be on main roster.
Yeah.
I'd much prefer Shinsuke Nakamura to be on main roster. I mean, it's a bit early. I know he's just debuted, so I'm not saying shoot straight up there straight away. But there's a lot more wrestlers. I prefer him to treat Dean Ambrose better. And I've preferred him to book Bray Wyatt better. than to do anything with Baron Corbin.
It's an interesting point. I think that's a really good point, actually. I knew that. I knew I had a reason to put you on. For a reason. So who have we got next? Let's have a look.
Okay, so Apollo Crews.
Apollo Crews. Right, Apollo Crews. I think this should be a fairly short one. He's one that strikes me.
He's a bit short, isn't he?
He strikes me as they signed him. He's not gone that well in NXT, to my understanding. They pushed him onto the main roster probably as something of a replacement for Neville, because he's got a similar sort of athletic ability, except obviously he's physically
jacked.
Yeah, well, he's jacked, obviously. I think he's one who'll probably end up in the 50-50 club.
Yeah.
But I don't really see him. A couple of people said they think he could be the first Black World Champion for WWE. Now, obviously, The Rock's...
Yeah, we both looked at each other there.
Yeah, well, The Rock's obviously mixed race, isn't it?
The Rock's mixed race, so if you wanted to say it exclusively from one background...
I don't want to get into any racist debate, right? I don't care.
No, you save that for Tuesday nights, don't you?
Yeah, that's when I go to racist clubs. but like... do you count if someone's mixed race? Does that count? If it does, then fair enough.
I genuinely,
because then if it does, then he's not going to be the first black champion.
I genuinely don't know. I wouldn't.
But
Booker T.
No, like WWE champion.
Sorry,
It was just world
that's
champion,
my fault.
yeah.
I said world champion.
Yeah.
When I should explicitly say the WWE championship, the belt that they have now, which takes, I think its lineage generally is traced back to sort of Sammartino and all them. Obviously, they did have Booker T, but I don't see that. I think he's too short for that, and he hasn't shown that much in NXT. It's been a surprise call-up for some people because it's almost like they took him to NXT just to work the style and then wanted to move him up to the main roster, which I think for some people probably works better. But I don't think for him that means success.
Yeah, one of the problems that he seems to have is his facials, because he's always got that big smile on his face. And he's not able to convey big emotions to the crowd. And when you watch most guys, they'll do stuff, and even if you sat right at the back of the arena, you can tell what's happening because of their body language and everything. But with Apollo Crews, it's just moves, and he's just got this big goofy smile on his face. And I don't know whether that's an afterthought from working on the indies for so long, and it's never been an issue until now, and he's having to fast track work on it because with his size and everything, he wasn't going to stay in NXT for too long. But yeah, I think it was even mentioned on Breaking Ground and things like that, where Triple H said, he needs to learn to show his emotions and stuff. Whether it's it might even be a nerves thing with him being on the big stage now.
Daryl?
Yeah, he's all right. Of all the ones that have come, well, not all the ones because I like Enzo Big Cass, but other than them, I probably like him best.
Really?
Yeah, but again, because I like all the other wrestlers better. I have this thing where I don't want to say he's shit because he's not shit, but I just think, I'd prefer other people to be in his position than him.
Yeah.
I think if it is an issue with his facials or whatever, if Triple H has said it or whatever, why has he got called up to main roster? If he's not ready, don't call him up, because it's just going to fuck with him in the long run. Because if now he's not ready, and eventually they think, he's not doing what we need him to do, then when eventually he learns it, then he's going to be he's going to have lost so much. He's going to have Chris Masters effect. So Chris Masters got massive body called up. Then towards end of his career in WWE, he were actually quite good.
Yeah.
But he were resting on superstars because they'd fucked him so much on Raw and he lost and stuff that there were nowhere for him to go, so he couldn't do anything.
Do you remember that time that Triple H asked him about when he was going to write a book? I thought that was just funny. I know it was probably incredibly poor, incredibly poor form for someone who's in management, who essentially up until about a few months before that had been going, we're not saying the steroids won't help, but maybe you want to do some, to going, no, you have to do no steroids. And then Triple H literally gets him in front of a camera and says, so when are you going to write a book about how to lose 30 pounds in 3 weeks? I'm not even bothered. I was okay with that. Now we've got, is it literally just the women we've got left?
Yes.
Yeah. Quick word on Eva Marie. What do you reckon? Do you think she'll do well or not?
What do you define as do well?
Well, I mean, she's already been on Total Divas and stuff, so obviously that works well in her favour.
Yeah.
In terms of that's what they like for the entertainment side of things. I feel like now that they're moving towards a sort of in-ring direction, I think that could mean she'll struggle.
Yeah, but they've called her up on the weekend that they said, "Oh, we're women's wrestling now." They've called her up on that weekend that they've gone, "This is the women's championship, not the Divas one. This is the women's championship."
I mean, I don't think there's. Well, I was going to say I don't think there's a chance of her winning the belt, but I could easily see in a while if she shows even a bit more improvement, she'll be the one to like beat Sasha Banks while they're doing this huge streak of her not losing matches. With Eva Marie, like she has shown some improvement in areas, but then at the same time, she's the old guard of like the divas, where they look for models and all this stuff, and they're still gonna do it because they just see a hot woman, we can teach her how to wrestle, rather than thinking, oh, there's a wrestler, we can do something with her. So it's hard to tell with the women like how far she can go because it's WWE and they'll happily push someone even though the crowd turn against them. They'll go, well, she's gorgeous and all this stuff.
I think she'll do well like financially. Like I think she'll.
I wonder if they might actually try and sort of separate the divisions a little bit, in the sense of almost keep the Total Divas lot to themselves, feuding with themselves, and then keep the actual sort of wrestlers themselves as well. I think that could cause confusion,
No,
but
it's
it
a good
might
idea,
work,
though,
but
I
it would
think.
work better than what they've been
They can do their own
doing.
separate thing.
Yeah.
Because like some of the stuff they have done recently is like gone on Total Divas. Someone said this to someone, and that's why they're having a match.
Exactly.
So like they could easily do that and keep that to one side, like you said, and then just have like proper wrestlers fight off a belt.
On Emma, I think she's really good. I think she's improved so much since she was on the roster before, which means she don't really count as a call-up.
Well,
and
the thing with Emma as well was her and Paige were the two women who originally like kicked off NXT's women division. Like she was having good matches with Paige and everything. Then she came up with the gimmick of doing like the weird dances and being awkward. So and she was never going to get a lot of opportunities on the main roster. But
that main roster, first main roster call-up were bullshit, weren't it? Because they
literally just wanted someone to dance beside Santino.
Yeah, they just brought her out dancing, not like it weren't like this awkward thing where she nearly fell out of a ring like she used to do on NXT.
Yeah.
It was just a bit. I don't know. They didn't really introduce the character.
Ultimately, for her, I think she's good, but I don't think she'll go much further than a certain point. I think she's another one who's got a ceiling. There's other women that are better wrestlers than her. There's other women that are better heels than her. And there's other women that flat out are probably better looking in terms of what they're looking for her.
But that's good though, because they can beat her. She's a name-ish that they can beat.
She'll be on the same level as someone like Natalia. She can have a good match with someone, and then oh fucking hell! Daryl's just pointed out a massive, well, not a massive spider behind me, but
so glad you pointed that out now whilst we're still talking. Well done. Yeah.
But yeah, she'll be on.
I'm just here to ruin the show.
She'll be on the same area as Natalia, where she might not reach the championship, but she'll be the person who they can beat on the way.
Yeah, fair enough. That's all the calls. Quick run up because we're running out of time. I did want to sort of talk about the takeovers at large a little bit more, but we're probably not going to have a chance. Thoughts on NXT takeover, the most recent one, the Dallas one?
The Dallas one, the main event was good. The blood stoppages took a little bit away from the match. I was going to have a longer rant, but ultimately, I understand why they have to stop it for blood. They've got to think about all these issues to do with, like, they don't want someone covered in blood because they can't use the footage on TV. But at the same time,
I think
so many
more
stoppages.
to do with, like, AIDS and bloodborne diseases.
That's another reason as well, yeah. But it was a bit too much to stop the momentum of the match that many times. Nakamura Sami Zayn was a brilliant match. I was really excited for Nakamura debuting, and it was everything I hoped, really.
That's probably match of the weekend.
Yeah, Asuka Bailey was a great match, but the crowd were a little out of it, didn't know how to deal with the face versus face thing.
Well, they didn't know how to react at the finish as well, did they?
Yeah, they didn't know how to react to the finish either, because it was kind of like...
Because they like Asuka. They like Asuka, but they also like Bailey a lot. So can I just point out, listeners, that this spider's crawling towards Moko.
I'll get it.
And he's cowering in the corner.
I'm a terrible arachnophobe.
I didn't know he was a terrible arachnophobe.
Yeah, I am.
So when I pointed it out, I didn't realise it had caused this much drama.
And I think the spider knows too. Anyway, what we were saying.
Hang on, let him sit down.
So we're talking about
So Asuka, they didn't know how to react to the Asuka Bailey finish because they really like Asuka, but they liked Bailey even more. So when Asuka won, they were like, yay, shall we cheer? No, I don't know. Oh, Bailey's dead. Or what? Oh.
Yeah, and the whole like thing afterwards where Bailey they didn't do a big moment for her or anything. She was just outside the ring getting checked on by the referees, and Asuka just kind of stared her down and walked off smiling.
Yeah.
And I really liked it, but at the same time, the live crowd were kind of like, oh. And it came straight after the Nakamura Sami Zayn match where the crowd were just ridiculously crazy for it.
I thought the reaction was brilliant. I thought it was exactly what they needed, because like it was. I mean, I've said this, and people have, you can sort of disagree with this one way or another, but it was the closest thing we've had since the Undertaker Brock Lesnar match that people have had sort of a genuine shocked reaction, almost because they had no idea how to react because they like Asuka, as you said. So I really like that. Just to bring it back for one final point, the whole reason I've sort of brought it back to the takeover is I thought Nakamura against Sami Zayn was absolutely fantastic. Based on that, because we didn't really get a proper consensus, how do you think Sami Zayn will do, Daryl, on the main roster?
Sami Zayn?
Yeah, Sami Zayn on the main roster.
I don't think he's ever winning world title.
Fair enough.
That will be cut, right? And when he does win the world title, we'll put that at the start of the show.
Absolutely, yeah.
But like, I don't think he's ever going to win world title. He'll be up there.
Yep.
He'll challenge for it a few times. But like, I don't know. Like, I just think that now they've only got one world title and there's not two. It's just like you've got to be really selective on who you pick, and he's really good, but he just doesn't look really good. And I think you've got to kind of have both. I know you're going to say, well, Roman Reigns isn't good, but he kind of looks good. Oh,
I think that's more important to them sometimes.
Yeah,
I
think they prefer. They look at the look and go, right, he's a star. Let's put the belt on him. Oh, he just happens to be a good wrestler. I think that's what they look for.
Dan, quick as possible. What do you think?
I think he's got a lot of upward potential. I mean, I can see him going on the same route as Daniel Bryan almost. I don't know whether he'll reach the same success, but he's definitely got that, like, the crowd can really relate to him. He has got the potential to do that, but it's whether they actually ever pull the trigger. And we all know with Daniel Bryan, they wouldn't have pulled the trigger unless circumstances landed how they did. So it'll be very much whether anything like that can happen for him. But I do think he has that upward potential to be a big star.
I felt like until Monday I would have said definitely not. Now I think he's got the chance. I think he's really good, and I guess it just depends how they book him, which sounds like an obvious statement to make, so I'm going to end on that particular note. Just a quick reminder, facebook.com/RoyalGrumble, twitter.com/RoyalGrumblePod. Email us if you want, royalgrumblepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Next week, something else. See you later.
Bye.
And you'll not believe it. Right, I don't know if you've seen it or not, so it's probably a spoiler, but I don't give a fuck. Right, Ascension came down, right, and they were fighting Darren Young, and then this no-name, like literally the guy, he didn't get an introduction. Lillian Garcia went, oh, and Darren Young's tag team partner, and then they play the music, right, you're not going to believe it, right, he got a fucking car, we don't give a fuck at him.